Alright, so this video is going to go with the Chapter 8 Enrichment Project, and this investigation really is going to lead you up to the point where you're ready to do Part 4 on your own, which is really the main part of the project. That's what I'm going to be grading. But completing Parts 1, 2, and 3 are really going to help you to be prepared for Part 4. I made this video to go along with it so that I can show you some examples and then you can finish it the rest on your own. So, should interest you. Right here, you may not be at 8.7 yet, which is the lesson where you learn simple interest. That's okay. You can still start this project before getting to lesson 8.7. Here's kind of the opener for it. So if I told you that you could turn $1,000 into $47,000, would you be interested to learn how? In Chapter 8, you're going to be studying simple interest, which is where interest is earned on the principal only, but there is another type of interest, and that's called compound interest, which gives your money the potential to grow faster because you can earn interest on the interest you previously earned. It explains why $1,000 can be invested at an annual interest rate of 8% and can grow to almost $47,000 over the course of 50 years. You gotta wait some time, but still, that's a great payout. No wonder Albert Einstein described compound interest as one of the greatest human discoveries. All right, so let's just think this through. If it was simple interest and you earned 8% of $1,000, you would find 8% of $1,000, that would be $80. That means the first year you would earn $80. Well, if this was simple interest, you would earn that same amount every year, which means for 50 years you would earn $80. So that would be, 80 times 50. You could calculate how much you would earn in interest. Not bad. $4,000, pretty nice, right? And then don't forget that you had the $1,000 that you originally invested, so you would have a total of $5,000. Well, that sounds pretty good to me, except when I look at, wait a second, if I said I could make this $47,000, where do you get the other $42,000? That extra $42,000 is coming from the extra interest you earn on the interest you've already earned. Sounds confusing, I know. Here's some of the key ideas, and I want you to read this over while I'm reading it with you. An investor will place amount of money as the starting principal into the account. So whatever you start with is the principal. The bank will agree to pay the investor a set percentage of the investment, which would be the interest rate, at a regular interval, which would be the interest period. Now that's the difference between compound and simple. Simple interest would just be for a set period of time, done and done. Compound is going to have an interest period, and that's going to deal with how often the interest is compounded. So it could be daily, monthly, quarterly, yearly, and so forth. And then when you pay, the interest is then added to the starting principal to form a new starting principal. So let's start with the $1,000. Let's watch $1,000 grow in the first 10 years. And I want you to complete the table, but I'll get you started. So we're going to start out with a $1,000 investment. You're going to earn 8%, so the interest work would be the 8% as a decimal times your principal. That's going to give you $80. Now then you add that interest to the principal, which was $1,000. That means your new starting principal is $1,080. So take this number here and take it all the way over to right here. That means the next year, instead of starting with just $1,000, you're starting with $1,080. Do it again. Find 8% of the $1,080. You can use your calculator here. Once you get that percent, in this case it's going to be $86.40, add that to your starting principal from that year. So it's going to be from this number that you had over here in the first column. So this time added to the $1,080. At the end of the second year, you'll have $1,166.40. That new number becomes your starting principal for the following year. Take that over to the first column, do it again. So you can see the process. I just started you off. I'm going to do one more with you. So again, take that starting principal, multiply it by the interest, which is, the interest rate is 8%. That's going to tell you how much interest you're getting paid. So the first year you only earned $80 in interest. By the third year, you're already earning $93.31. Now you're adding that interest to the starting principal. So notice we're going to take that starting principal, and that's going to be multiplied by a rate, and then you're adding the starting principal to that answer. Notice how the starting principal happens twice in there. That might help you to understand the compound formula later on. So when we add this together, we can find that at the end of the third year, we'll have $1,259.71. Now you can see that that's compounding quicker than normal, right? If you only earned 80, 80, and 80, you would have less money than me because I earned 80, then 86.40, then 93.31. I want you to finish this table. You can pause to do that, and then I want to point something out before we go into part 2. So if you need to pause to finish the table, go ahead and do that now. Before we get into part 2, which is the compound interest formula, this just shows you how the money grows over 10 years. So you could see from completing this table, your end value was more than $2,000. Your money has already doubled within the first 10 years, which is pretty cool. Each time, though, you are multiplying the principal by the interest rate and then adding it to the principal. So you're taking the principal, you're multiplying it by the interest rate, and then you're also adding it to the original principal, right? You might recognize that you could do this quicker. Instead of doing the principal times 0.08 plus the principal, you might be able to combine that into one term, right? This would be the same as saying 1.08 times p, because this is 1p and this is 0.08p, and we're adding those together. So when we have compound interest, we have this idea of 1 plus the interest rate. We're going to see that idea in the formula on the next part. Okay, so 1 plus the interest rate times the principal is really what we're getting to. You're done with this video. I'll do another video for part 2 of the project.